Cold metal chains dug into my wrists, raw and stinging. I huddled in the corner of an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town, the kind you see all over America, with rusted rebar sticking out and moldy wooden planks piled on the floor, listening to the kidnapper's gruff laughter as my gaze fixed on Mia, pinned to the ground a few feet away. Dylan Hale's girl, more like a nobody's trash. The lead kidnapper, a man with a snake tattoo coiling around his neck, grabbed Mia's hair and yanked hard, his other hand reaching to tear her tank top. Mia screamed and thrashed, but there was no real fear in her eyes, only that smug certainty that she'd be rescued just like in my past life. Last time, I would have rushed forward like a maniac, throwing myself in front of her and yelling, "Don't touch her." Then the kidnappers would have pinned me to the cold concrete, subjecting me to humiliations that haunted my nightmares for the rest of my life. But this time, I didn't move. I watched Mia glance furtively toward the warehouse door. She was waiting for Dylan, and dug my nails deep into my palm. The pain kept me sharp. I'd been reborn, back to the day we'd been kidnapped 3 years ago. "Sis, help me." Mia finally spotted me, her voice thick with fake sobs, no sincerity at all. The kidnappers followed her gaze to me and grinned. "Another one? Perfect. We can sell both of you to Hale for double the cash." A lanky guy with a missing front tooth stepped toward me, reaching for my hair. I shrank back, kicking his knee as hard as I could, and yelled hoarsely, "You got the wrong person. She's not Dylan's girlfriend. He doesn't even like her." Mia's face turned deathly pale. "Ella, what the hell are you talking about?" "Talking nonsense." I stared at her, my voice trembling but clear with every word. "Dylan told me yesterday he's just playing with you. Do you really think he'll marry you? Dad's auto shop went bankrupt, Mom's in Mercy Hospital waiting for a $50,000 heart surgery, and he hasn't given you a penny. You still think he cares about you?" Half-truths, but they hit Mia right where it hurt. Her struggles weakened, and the certainty in her eyes faded into panic. The lanky guy stopped in his tracks, glancing back at the leader. "Boss, what's going on? I thought we grabbed Hale's girl." The leader froze too, clearly caught off guard. He walked up to Mia, grabbing her chin so hard her eyes watered. "Tell me, are you really Hale's girlfriend?" Mia's eyes teared up from the pain, but she kept up her act. "Yes. Dylan will come rescue me. If you hurt me, he'll destroy all of you." "Will he?" I scoffed, pulling my phone from my sleeve. I'd hidden it there on purpose after realizing I'd been reborn. "I'll call Dylan right now. We'll see if he even bothers to save you." I knew Dylan was already on his way. Last time, he'd burst in right at this moment, but this time, I wouldn't let his arrival become something Mia could brag about. The phone rang 3 times before Dylan's voice came through, cold as shards of ice. "Ella, what is it?" "Mr. Hale," I forced a tearful tone into my voice, "Mia and I have been kidnapped. They say they've got your girlfriend and want $5 million for ransom. But Mia, she says you don't care about her at all. Are you even coming to save us?" There was a moment of silence on the other end, then his harsh voice replied, "Send the address. I'll be there soon." I hung up, texted him the address, and looked up at the kidnappers. "Heard that? Dylan's on his way, but he only said he'd save us, not who. If you hurt me, he'll never let you get away with it. But if you hurt her," I pointed at Mia, pausing for effect, "Dylan might even thank you for getting rid of a nuisance." Mia's whole body shook with rage. "Ella, you bitch. You're doing this on purpose to ruin me." "Ruin you?" I stood up, stepping toward her slowly before squatting down. "Remember when Dylan threatened to cut Mom's surgery funds unless you slept with him? You said you'd die before begging him for anything. But then you snuck into his penthouse, begging him to buy you a Chanel bag and help you show off to your friends. Did you forget that?" Mia's face lost all color. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. The kidnappers grew restless too. The leader frowned and cursed, "Damn it, which one of you is telling the truth?" "I am." I cut Mia off before she could speak. "I have Venmo records from Dylan. He even said he'd take me to meet his parents." "Want me to show you right now?" I reached for my phone, but the leader grabbed my wrist to stop me. "Quit playing tricks. We'll wait for Hale, he'll set things straight." Just then, the roar of car engines echoed outside the warehouse, followed by rapid footsteps. Dylan burst in with a team of bodyguards, his black suit still wind-tousled, his eyes as cold as ice. "Who dares touch them?" The kidnappers panicked instantly. The leader grabbed Mia, pressing a knife to her neck. "Hale, stay back, or I'll kill her." Dylan's gaze flicked over Mia, then settled on me. He frowned slightly. "Ella, are you okay?" My chest tightened. Last time, his first question had been about Mia. This time, because of what I'd said, he'd asked about me first. Mia didn't like that one bit. She thrashed and screamed, "Dylan, save me, She's lying to you. I'm the one you care about. Dylan ignored her, his eyes locked on the leader. Let them go, and I'll let you walk away. Walk away? Do you think we're idiots? The leader sneered. Once we let them go, you'll have the cops on us before we're out of town. That's when Mia turned on me, screaming at Dylan, don't save her. She was helping the kidnappers. She's in on this. If you save her, she'll ruin everything for us. I looked at Mia, and the last shred of sisterly affection I'd had for her vanished completely. This was exactly what she'd done in my past life, begged Dylan to leave me behind. I'd been dragged away and tortured, while she'd left with Dylan and never looked back. Not this time. I lunged forward suddenly, grabbing the leader's wrist and twisting it hard. He yelped in pain, and the knife clattered to the floor. Dylan's bodyguards swarmed in, pinning the kidnappers to the ground. Mia stood frozen in place, staring at me in disbelief. Dylan walked over to me, his eyes narrowing at the red marks on my wrists. Are you hurt? Did they do anything to you? I shook my head, then turned to Mia, raising my voice so everyone could hear. Mia, why would you say that? I was trying to save you. How could you call me a traitor? Mia's face flushed bright red. She stammered, I didn't mean it. I was just so scared. Scared? I scoffed. When you're scared, the first thing you do is frame me. When Mom was in the hospital, you begged Dylan for money to buy a bag instead of paying her medical bills. Were you scared then? When Dad's shop got ransacked by creditors, you locked yourself in your room while I stood in front of him. Were you scared then? My words hit Mia like slaps to the face. Her cheeks alternated between red and white, and she couldn't say a word. Dylan stared at Mia too, a new wariness in his eyes. Clearly, he'd had no idea about any of this. Mia, Dylan's voice turned cold, is what Ella said true? Mia shook her head frantically. No, she's lying. Dylan, don't believe her. She's just jealous of me. She's trying to break us up. Jealous of you? I pointed at my wrists, jealous that you got kidnapped. Jealous that you have to beg a man to survive. Mia, wake up, you're not some protagonist in a story. You're just a selfish, spoiled brat. Mia lost it completely. She flew at me, nails sharp as claws, but Dylan snagged her arm mid-lunge, yanking her back hard enough to make her stumble. That's enough, he said, his voice cutting like ice, sharp with barely contained anger. Mia, pull yourself together. He snapped his head toward his bodyguard, jaw tight. Get Ms. Carter home. Keep her there, and make damn sure she doesn't stir up any more chaos. Then he looked at me. Ella, I'll drive you to the hospital to get checked out. I nodded, and we walked toward the door. As we passed Mia, I met her eyes. They were filled with venom, but she didn't dare look away for long. In Dylan's car, I watched the streetlights blur past and let out a quiet breath. I'd taken the first step in my rebirth. I'd protected myself, and I'd exposed Mia's true colors to Dylan. But I knew this was only the beginning. All the pain Mia and Dylan had put me and my parents through, I'd make them pay it back, bit by bit. The car pulled up in front of Mercy Hospital. Dylan walked me inside, and the doctor examined my wrists. The scrapes were minor, just some bruising, then handed me a tube of ointment and told me to rest. As we walked out of the exam room, Dylan spoke up suddenly. Ella, was everything you said about Mia true? I stopped and turned to him. His expression was serious, and there was a curious glint in his eyes. Yes, I nodded, my voice calm. When Mom was in the hospital, we were $50,000 short for her surgery. I asked Mia to borrow some money from you, but she said you'd never help. Later, I found out she'd gone to see you that same day, not for Mom, but to beg you to buy her a new Hermes bag. You gave her $30,000. I paused, letting that sink in before continuing. And when Dad's auto shop went bankrupt, creditors broke in, smashed everything, and pushed Dad to the floor. Mia locked herself in her room. I was the one who stood in front of him, negotiating with them until they agreed to leave. I'd never told anyone any of this before. I'd thought Mia was my sister, that I owed it to her to protect her. But all my kindness had gotten me was betrayal. Dylan's jaw tightened. He was quiet for a long time, then said, she never told me any of that. Mia said her parents were healthy, that her family was well off. Of course she didn't, I scoffed. She was scared you'd lose interest if you knew she was poor. She thinks she's the star of some movie, that everyone should cater to her, no matter what. Dylan didn't say anything. He pulled out his phone and typed a quick message. After a minute, he looked up at me. Where are your parents now? I can send someone to help them. No, thank you. I shook my head. I can take care of them. Mr. Hale, I know you used to have feelings for Mia, but please, open your eyes. She's not the person you think she is. I didn't want to owe him anything. In my past life, he'd helped us a little, but only after he'd used our family's crisis to pressure Mia into sleeping with him. I wasn't going to make that mistake again. Dylan studied me, his eyes unreadable. You're nothing like her, Ella. We've never been alike, I said, turning toward the exit. Thank you for driving me to the hospital. I can get home on my own. I didn't wait for his reply. I walked out into the sunlight, bright and harsh, but it made me feel alive. For the first time in years, I felt like I was in control of my life. When I got home, I pushed open the door to find Dad, James, sitting on the couch, clutching a collection notice. Mom, Linda, sat next to him, her eyes red from crying. They both jumped up when they saw me. Ella, where have you been? We've been worried sick. Mom pulled me into a hug. I'm okay, Mom, I hugged her back. I was at the hospital, just a few scrapes. Dad set the notice down and looked at me. Are you sure you're all right? Do we need to take you back? I'm fine, Dad, just a little sore, I said, pulling away from Mom. I picked up the notice from the coffee table. Who sent this? Someone from Hale Group, Dad sighed. They said if we don't pay the $100,000 we owe them by next week, they'll foreclose on the house. $100,000. In my past life, this notice had broken Dad. He'd begged everyone he knew for money, and when the creditors showed up at his shop, he'd had a heart attack and died in the ambulance. This time, I wouldn't let that happen. Dad, don't worry, I set the notice down, I'll figure out how to pay it. How? He looked at me, his eyes filled with worry. We've asked every friend and family member we have. No one will lend us a cent. I have a plan, I said, sitting down between them. Dad, tomorrow go to the shop and inventory all the equipment and parts. I'll call the buyers I found last week. We can sell everything. That should get us most of the money. I'll handle the rest. Dad froze. Sell the equipment? What about the shop? The shop is already gone, Dad, I said gently, but we still have each other. Selling the equipment will let us pay the debt and keep the house. Mom needs to focus on getting better. She can't stress about losing our home. Dad stared at his hands for a long time, then nodded. Okay, we'll do it your way. Mom took my hand, her palm warm and trembling. I'm so sorry you have to carry this, Ella. We're supposed to take care of you. You do, I squeezed her hand. Just being here, that's enough. The next day, Dad went to the shop to take inventory. I spent the day on the phone, haggling with buyers. By the afternoon, I had a deal, $80,000 for all the equipment and parts, cash in hand by the end of the week. $80,000. Still $20,000 short of the $100,000 we owed Hale Group. I pulled out my phone and texted Dylan, Mr. Hale, I want to make a deal. His reply came 5 minutes later. What kind of deal? I can tell you everything you need to know about Mia, all the lies she's told, all the things she's hidden from you. I paused, then typed, in exchange, I want you to wipe the remaining $20,000 from Dad's debt. And tell Hale Group to stop harassing him. I knew Dylan was curious about Mia, curious why she'd lied to him so much. This was his chance to find out the truth. He replied quickly, meet me at the Starbucks downtown at 6 p.m. I arrived a few minutes early. Dylan was already there, sitting by the window in a black suit, as cold and distant as ever. I sat down across from him. Mr. Hale. Ella, he said, what do you want to know? I want to know why you pressured Mia into sleeping with you, I said, no beating around the bush. Did you really like her? Or was it just a game? Dylan's jaw tightened. He took a sip of his coffee, then said, I thought she was different. Fierce, not like all the other women who threw themselves at me. Then I realized she was just acting. But by then, I'd told my father I wanted to be with her. He hated the idea, said she was below our status. I wanted to prove him wrong. I wanted to see if she'd stay with me even when things got hard. And when she didn't? I asked. When she didn't, he said, his voice flat, I knew I'd been wrong. But I never guessed how many lies she'd told. That's just who she is, I scoffed. She thinks everyone should revolve around her. That everyone owes her something. She never thinks about anyone but herself. I told him everything. About Mia stealing Mom's jewelry to sell for designer clothes. About her lying to her friends that she was engaged to him. About her mocking Dad behind his back for failing. Dylan listened, his face growing colder with every word. When I finished, he pulled out his phone and dialed a number. Tell the finance department, he said, his voice sharp, adjust James Carter's debt. Waive the remaining $20,000. Set up a payment plan for the rest. No late fees, no harassment. He hung up, then looked at me. It's done. Thank you for telling me the truth. Don't thank me, I said, standing up. I'm just getting what we're owed. Mr. Hale, I think we're done here. I don't want to see you, or Mia, again unless I have to. He didn't stop me. I walked out of the Starbucks, the weight of that $20,000 lifted from my chest. Dad's shop was gone, but our house was safe. Mom could get her surgery. Now it was Mia's turn to pay for what she'd done. When I got home, I told Mom and Dad the good news. Dad's face finally broke into a smile, and Mom cried, happy tears this time. Ella, thank you. Mom hugged me tight. I don't know what we'd do without you. It's what family does, I said, patting her back. Dad, tomorrow go talk to Hale Group about the payment plan. And make sure you get the cash for the equipment. We'll pay off as much of the debt as we can right away. Will do, Dad nodded, grinning. The next few days went smoothly. Dad sold the equipment and got the $80,000. He paid off a chunk of the debt, and Mom's health improved enough that she could come home from the hospital. I thought we'd finally get some peace. I was wrong. 3 days later, I was making apple pie for Mom when the doorbell rang. I wiped my hands on my apron and opened the door, and there stood Mia, holding a Hermes bag and wearing a smirk. Sis, I came to see Mom and Dad, she said, pushing past me into the house. Mom looked up from the couch, her smile fading when she saw Mia. Mia, you're here. Of course I am, Mia said, putting the bag on the coffee table with a loud thud. Look what Dylan bought me. It's the new Birkin, cost more than your monthly rent. Mom didn't say anything, just nodded and went back to folding laundry. Mia turned to Dad, who was pretending to read the newspaper. Dad, how's the shop? Dylan told me he fixed your debt. You should thank me. I begged him for weeks to help you. Dad lowered the newspaper, his voice cold. Ella fixed the debt. She sold the equipment and negotiated with Mr. Hale. You had nothing to do with it. Mia froze. She turned to me, her eyes filled with hatred. You lied to them. You told them you did it. I was the one who got Dylan to help. You're stealing my credit. Stealing your credit. I laughed, bitter and sharp. When did you beg Dylan to help Mom and Dad? Last week, when you were at the mall buying that bag? Or the week before, when you ignored Mom's calls about her surgery? I didn't ignore her. Mia screamed, I was busy. Dylan had meetings, and I had to be there for him. Busy being his arm candy, I said, while Mom cried herself to sleep worrying about paying her bills, while Dad sat here wondering if we'd lose the house. Mom walked back in, carrying a stack of dishes. Mia, please, let's not fight. We're family. Family, Mia scoffed, you only care about Ella. She's always been your favorite. I could die, and you'd barely notice. Dad slammed the newspaper down. That's enough, Mia. You're acting like a child. Ella's been here, helping us. You've been gone for months, spending Dylan's money and lying to everyone. Mia's lower lip trembled. She pulled out her phone, typed something quickly, then looked up with tears in her eyes. Fine. If you don't believe me, ask Dylan. He's on his way here. He'll tell you the truth. I froze. She'd called Dylan. Of course she had. She wanted to play the victim, to make him think I was bullying her. Sure enough, 20 minutes later, Dylan's car pulled up. He walked in, his eyes scanning the room, Mom tense, Dad angry, Mia crying into her hands. Mia said there was a problem, he said, his voice neutral. Mia jumped up, throwing herself at him. Dylan. They won't listen to me. I told them I helped with the debt, but Ella's lying. She's making them hate me. Dylan gently pushed her away. He looked at me, then at Dad and Mom. Is that true? Dad shook his head. No. Mia's lying. Ella did all the work. Mia's mouth dropped open. You're taking their side. Over mine. Dylan sighed. He ran a hand through his hair, looking exhausted. Mia, let's talk. Privately. They went into the guest room. I could hear their voices, Mia's shrill, Dylan's sharp, but I couldn't make out the words. 30 minutes later, Dylan walked out alone. He stopped by the door, looking at me. She wants to meet with you. Tomorrow at noon, at the Cheesecake Factory. She says she wants to apologize. I raised an eyebrow. Apologize? Or put on a show for you? Either way, he said, she's determined. Will you go? I thought about it. Mia's apologies were always fake. She'd cry, say she was sorry, then go back to lying the second my back was turned. But with Dylan watching, maybe I could finally make her admit the truth. Fine, I said, I'll go. Dylan nodded, then left. Mom walked over, squeezing my hand. Be careful, Ella. She's up to something. I know, I said, but this time, I'm ready for her. The next noon, I walked into the cheesecake factory. Mia was already there, sitting in a booth by the window with Dylan. She was wearing a white dress, her hair curled, her eyes red like she'd been crying. Sis, she said, standing up when I approached, thank you for coming. I sat down across from them. Mr. Hale. Mia. Dylan looked at me, his expression softening slightly. He wanted to believe her, I could see it. Ella, Mia says she's sorry for everything, he said, she wants to make things right. I turned to Mia, waiting for her to speak. Mia bowed her head, her voice trembling. Ella, I'm so sorry. For lying to you, for ignoring Mom and Dad, for not helping you when we were kidnapped. I was scared, and I was selfish. I'll change, I promise. I'll help Mom with the garden, I'll get a job, I'll stop asking Dylan for money, just please, forgive me. She sounded so convincing, if I didn't know better, I might have believed her. But I knew Mia. She didn't apologize unless she wanted something. Are you really sorry? I asked, leaning forward, or are you just sorry Dylan found out you've been lying to him? Mia froze. I'm really sorry. I'll do anything to make it up to you. I'll. Then tell me, I cut her off, do you remember last year, when Mom had that jewelry box on her dresser? The one with Grandma's necklace? You stole it, sold it for $2,000, and bought a pair of shoes. Do you apologize for that? Mia's face turned pale. I didn't. And what about your friend Zoe? I said, you told her our dad was a loser who couldn't keep his business afloat. That Mom was pathetic for working at the grocery store. Do you apologize for that? Mia's mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. She looked at Dylan, panic in her eyes. I was joking, she said, Zoe knows I was joking. Joking? I pulled out my phone and opened a voice memo, I'd recorded it months ago, when I'd walked in on Mia's call with Zoe. Let's listen. I hit play. Mia's voice filled the booth, sneering and cruel. My dad's such a failure. He can't even pay his bills. And my mom? She's working at a grocery store, bagging food like a peasant. Thank God Dylan likes me, otherwise, I'd be stuck here forever. Mia lunged for my phone, but Dylan grabbed her arm. Don't, he said, his voice cold. Dylan, it's not what it sounds like. Mia cried, I was stressed. I didn't mean it. You meant every word, Dylan said. He stood up, his face hard. I think we're done here, Mia. I'm not going to see you anymore. No. Mia screamed, grabbing his wrist, you can't leave me. I'm your girlfriend. I'm the one who's supposed to be with you. I'm your main character. Dylan pulled his hand away. You're not a main character, Mia. You're just a liar. And I'm done with lies. He turned to me. Ella, I'm sorry you had to go through this. Let me drive you home. I nodded. As we walked past Mia's booth, she stared at me, her eyes filled with hatred. This isn't over, she mouthed. I smiled. Bring it on. I thought after the Cheesecake Factory, Mia would leave me alone. I was wrong, she was angrier than ever, and now she had nothing to lose. A week later, I was helping Mom tend to her roses in the garden when the doorbell rang. I wiped my hands on my jeans and opened the door, to find 2 police officers standing on the porch. Ella Carter, one of them asked, pulling out a notepad. Yes, I said, my stomach dropping, is something wrong? We have a warrant for your arrest, the other officer said, holding up a summons. Zoe Miller filed a report accusing you of fraud. She says you borrowed $50,000 from her, claiming it was for your mother's surgery, and never paid it back. Fraud. I'd barely spoken to Zoe, Mia's friend, outside of a few awkward hellos at parties. I didn't borrow any money from her, I said. There's a mistake here. Ms. Miller has a Venmo transaction record, the officer said, $50,000 sent to your account last month. She says you promised to pay it back in 2 weeks. Venmo? I checked my Venmo every day. I'd never received $50,000 from Zoe. Then it hit me, Mia had my Venmo login. I'd given it to her months ago, when she said she needed to send me $20 for gas. Zoe's lying, I said. Mia, my sister, has my login information. She must have sent the money to herself and framed me. The officers exchanged looks. We'll need you to come down to the station to make a statement. You can post bail once we process you. Mom heard the commotion and walked over. What's going on? Is Ella okay? I'm fine, Mom, I said, hugging her quickly. It's a misunderstanding. I'll be back soon. The officers drove me to the police station. They put me in a small interrogation room and left me alone for 10 minutes. Then the door opened, and in walked Dylan. I stared at him. How did you know I was here? Mia called me, he said, sitting down across from me. She said you'd been arrested for fraud and that I should stay out of it. I thought that was suspicious. He pulled out a folder and slid it across the table. My lawyer looked into it. Zoe sent $50,000 to a Venmo account under your name, but the IP address traces back to Mia's apartment. And the message, thanks for the surgery money, that you sent Zoe? It was sent from Mia's phone. Relief washed over me. Thank you. I didn't know what to do. I've never even talked to Zoe. The officers have this, Dylan said. They're dropping the charges. My lawyer's outside handling the paperwork. I stood up, my legs still shaky. Why are you helping me? After everything with Mia, you could have walked away. Dylan looked at me, his eyes softening slightly. Because you're not her. You're honest. You care about your family. You don't deserve to be dragged down by her lies. He walked me out of the station. His lawyer was waiting, holding a stack of papers. All set, Ms. Carter. No charges, no record. Dylan drove me home. We pulled up to the house, and he turned to me. Ella, have you thought about leaving? For a while. I frowned. Leaving? Why? Mia's not going to stop, he said. She's angry, and she's unpredictable. If you leave, move to another state, go to college, you could have a fresh start. No more drama, no more Mia. It sounded tempting. A fresh start, no more looking over my shoulder, no more waiting for Mia's next attack. But Mom and Dad were here. I couldn't leave them. I can't, I said, my parents need me. And I'm not running from Mia. She owes us, too much. I'm not letting her get away with it. Dylan nodded, like he'd expected that. If you need anything, money, a lawyer, help, call me. Anytime. I got out of the car. Thank you, Mr. Hale. For everything. He drove away, and I walked inside. Mom was sitting on the couch, waiting for me. She pulled me into a hug when I walked in. I was so worried, she said. I'm okay, I said. Dylan helped. He proved Mia framed me. Mom pulled back, her face serious. Ella, be careful with him. I don't want you getting hurt. I won't, I said. I'm not letting anyone hurt me again. But Mia wasn't done. A few days later, Dad came home from the grocery store, his face ashen. He handed me a text message, from Mia. Dad, if you don't make Ella apologize to me and beg Dylan to take me back, I'll go to the IRS. I have proof you hid money from the shop before it went bankrupt. They'll audit you, and you'll go to jail. Your choice. I crushed the phone in my hand. She was threatening Dad with jail. Over a lie. There was no hidden money, Dad had sold everything to pay the creditors. Dad, don't worry, I said, she has no proof. It's a bluff. But what if it's not? Dad said, his hands shaking, I can't go to jail, Ella. Your mom needs me. I'll handle it, I said, I'll collect all the receipts, from the equipment sale, from the debt payments. I'll prove there's no hidden money. If she tries to go to the IRS, I'll fight back. Over the next week, I gathered every document I could find, bank statements, sales receipts, letters from Hale Group confirming the debt adjustment. I organized them into a folder, ready to hand over to a lawyer if Mia followed through. But she never did. I think she realized she had no proof, no receipts, no bank records, nothing. She was just trying to scare us. But I knew Mia. She didn't give up. And her next move would be worse. 2 weeks of peace. No calls from Mia, no texts, no surprises. I started to relax. Maybe she'd finally given up. Maybe she'd moved on to someone else to manipulate. I was wrong. Mom was sitting on the couch watching TV when her phone rang. She answered it, her smile fading. Her face turned pale, and she dropped the phone. Mom, what's wrong? I ran over, picking up the phone. A man's gruff voice came through the speaker. Tell James Carter his daughter Mia owes us $100,000. If he doesn't pay up in 48 hours, we're coming for his wife. We know where she lives. We know when she goes to the garden. My blood ran cold. Mia had borrowed money from gang members, and now they were threatening Mom. Who is this? I said, my voice steady. What do you want? $100,000, the man said, no cops. No Hale, just cash. We'll call with a drop-off spot. He hung up. Mom was shaking, tears streaming down her face. Ella, what are we going to do? They'll hurt me. They'll hurt us. Dad ran in, hearing the commotion. What's going on? Linda, why are you crying? I told him about the call. His face hardened. I'm calling the cops. Now. He dialed 911, and within minutes, 2 officers were at the house. They took our statements, asked for the phone number the man had used, and promised to investigate. We've had reports of this group before, one officer said, low-level criminals, mostly extortion and petty theft. We'll track them down. 3 days later, the officers called. They'd arrested the gang members, 3 men in their 20s with rap sheets for theft and assault. And they'd arrested Mia too. Ms. Carter admitted to hiring them, the officer said. She told them if they could get $100,000 from her father, she'd give them $20,000 as a fee. She thought her dad would pay to protect her mom. I closed my eyes. Of course she had. She thought everyone would bend to her will, even gang members, even Dad. The trial was a month later. Mia was charged with conspiracy to commit extortion and solicitation of a crime. Her lawyer tried to paint her as a victim of circumstance, pressured by her family, manipulated by Dylan, but the judge didn't buy it. The evidence was overwhelming. Text messages from Mia to the gang leader, Venmo payments she'd sent them as a down payment, witness testimony from the gang members. The judge banged his gavel. Mia Carter, I find you guilty of all charges. You've shown no remorse, no respect for the law, and no concern for the safety of your own family. I sentence you to 2 years in state prison. Mia screamed, kicking the table. No, this isn't fair. I'm the main character. You can't do this to me. The bailiffs hauled her away, Mia kicking her legs and screaming insults the whole time. Mom wept quietly, her shoulders shaking softly, and Dad slipped a gentle arm around her to pull her close. I stood rooted in place, watching Mia vanish through the courtroom doors, and felt nothing sharp, no lingering anger, no faint sadness, only a quiet, heavy relief. Finally, after everything, it was over. After the trial, life slowly got back to normal. Dad got a job at a local hardware store, nothing fancy, but enough to pay the bills. Mom's roses flourished, she started selling her homemade jams at the farmer's market on weekends. I applied to community college, majoring in business. I wanted to build something for myself, something real, not based on lies or favors. A few months later, I got a call from Dylan. He was moving to New York, taking over Hale Group's East Coast division. Ella, he said, his voice warm, I wanted to say goodbye. And thank you. You made me see how blind I was, how much I was letting Mia's lies control me. Goodbye, Dylan, I said, good luck in New York. Good luck to you too, he said, and to your family. You deserve happiness. I hung up, and walked outside. Mom was in the garden, pruning her roses. The sun was shining, the birds were singing, and for the first time in years, I felt peace. Mia would get out of prison someday. She might come back, might try to cause trouble again. But I wasn't scared anymore. I had my family, I had my future, and I had the strength to fight for both. Rebirth wasn't about getting revenge, it was about getting a second chance. A chance to protect the people I loved, to build a life I was proud of, and to finally be free. And for the first time, I was.